A video in the virtual reality series, and also a response video to Pyro, who expressed some concern about the tyrannicalness of what I proposed, in the sense that I don't think it would be possible to have both worlds existing. It's like humanity would have to make a choice. It's either virtual reality or reality. But there's no point in doing both, or trying to do both, because it won't work. And so he didn't like the idea that a democracy would have to decide that. I don't think there's any other thing that can decide it. And I would just argue with him that, yeah, I don't think it's possible to manage it both ways without there being all kinds of inequities and problems. The whole point of virtual reality, in my opinion, the value of it is to reduce our consumption profile. You don't do that by having an automated robot world. Robot servants don't reduce our consumption, they increase our consumption. And so that's not going to work. That's not a solution. Again, I'll make the argument, we can't create interesting worlds for every human being, pleasant worlds for every human being, because of human diversity. Each human being is going to want different things. Expectations are always going to rise. It's the nature of the human animal. We see it all the time. You give people a few $1,000,000 and they turn into extravagant, crazy whores for consumption. They're never satisfied. It's very hard to satiate a human organism. You give them what they want and they just end up wanting more. It's just the nature of the beast. And my argument is that beast has to be in a controlled environment. I'd further argue that I've made this point before, that technology and human nature, violence, are on these collision course in our future. We already see it now. We got war. Part of the war machine is drones, robotically controlled weapons. That's the future. And there's just no way to survive that future. Human conflict is just not going to be something we can coexist with in the future. So unless we get into some environment that makes it safe for human beings to kill each other, and in virtual reality it's safe, there's no future. There's no. I don't think you can describe a future where human beings still have freedom, and freedom of aberration, freedom of thought, that's fail-safe, necessarily fail-safe, that has any protections against a few aberrants blowing the planet up, for example. I mean, whatever would be the scenario. There's just no protection against catastrophic failure. And the only way we can protect, the only way we can create those protections is to take human beings out of a fragile, real-world environment and put them in a world that's basically a rubber room, a virtual world where they can bounce off the walls and it just isn't going to matter. So anyway, like I said, if you can give me a scenario where human beings still have freedom of thought and freedom of action in a future 2 or 3 or 4 or 500 years from now, with some, assuming a growth in technology, and with it a corresponding growth in the power of one individual to do great harm, then fine, give me that scenario. But until then, we're going to hit a wall of where control is going to be necessary. And like I said, either the human mind is going to have to be controlled, or the human animal is going to have to be controlled. All right, so on to some of the other concerns raised by other people in the comments. So this guy asked, why is this important? Well, it's important because, human beings are consumers and reproducers. And that's the biology, that's the DNA. And I don't think we're going to be able to weed that out of ourselves, especially when we got 6.5 million people going in all kinds of directions. It might be uncontrollable now. There might be no way to get anywhere just because of all that diversity. But there's got to be some mechanism, some place we can put human beings and their wants and their desires where they can consume all they want, and there's no price tag. There's nothing has to be paid for it, essentially, because it's all just a perception, and perceptions can be created artificially, very economically. Evolution does not have shortcuts. That's what some guy said. Of course it has shortcuts. We've done it. We've domesticated animals and we've hybridized them. We've accelerated their evolution to suit our needs. Dogs, cats, whatever. We go through all kinds of things. Food, vegetables. So of course there's shortcuts. And we're not evolving anymore anyway. We're out of the evolutionary cycle. And so that game is over. And we've seen what evolution can do. It's not going to come up with anything, some sort of, atomic farts. I mean, what is evolution going to come up with? We've got it. We've got consciousness and we have intelligence. We know what they need. They need feeding, and that's all we have to do is find an efficient way to feed them. But we're not going to evolve our way out of this problem. Suffering is shorter in nature because, apparently that's the argument, is they have all this. I argued that nature's a little horror chamber, a little torture chamber. And, people want to keep diminishing it. No, but nature goes through the attrition. I mean, there's 3 generations in nature versus 1 here, that kind of thing. There's more living things, and they're dying more often, and they're dying. It's just nonsense to say they all die quickly, because they don't. Most of them get injured, die of infections. I mean, just even take the monitor lizard, for example. I mean, its bite is just this infectious thing, so it bites an animal and waits a month for it to die. So, I mean, come on. Nature has got some horrific scenarios built into it, and it's just silly to sit there and keep forgiving it, to keep making excuses for its insanity. So some guy just brought up that Hadron Collider thing and wanted to know my opinion. I don't have an opinion beyond, it's just whatever. So what? It's an advancement in technology for this stupid quantum crap, and the expectation they're going to create this graviton that's going to fly into another dimension and all this bullshit. Well, who cares? I mean, it just doesn't mean anything. We know where we came from. We know what forces evolved us. We know what our psychology is built out of. That's the game, is understanding that psychology. This physics crap, this quantum crap, this string theory crap, it's all just crap. Alright? It's not going to mean anything to this endgame scenario. We know what we are. We're a fucking mouth. Alright? And an ass. We're a consuming machine, including our damn brain. It needs feeding. It needs entertaining. But that's all it's doing. That's all we're doing. We're just entertaining a consciousness that has needs. Okay, and some asshole said, like the Matrix. No, I've only made, 20 videos on this subject. Okay, and I don't have an expectation you watch 900 of my videos. But, no, it's nothing like the Matrix. The Matrix is contrived for a sci-fi movie to create, it creates an artificial conflict of good and evil and all this kind of crap. And, the Matrix, the first version that the stupid idiot said failed, the perfect version, the perfect scenario that the batteries rejected. It's a pile of crap. I don't think, why would they reject it? There's no reason why they would reject perfection. Gluttony. Humans like gluttony. So it's just a bullshit scenario. So it'd be nothing like the Matrix. It would be, people could live in a virtual world with other real entities interacting in their virtual world, or they could just be a single player in a completely synthetic environment. Either one. Again, somebody points out maintenance really isn't an issue. We could get it to a point where people from virtual reality could even control robots that did the maintenance, and these are all scenarios that can be done. It's kind of nitpicky to get into the details of how exactly it's all constructed, because we're not there yet. But it's certainly maintenance is going to be a minor issue. Some other guy brought up boring, like what happens when you get bored. Well, first off, I think there's plenty of software variety just in video games that exist today, where somebody's not going to get bored. So even if we mirror that and add the high definition elements, there's going to be plenty of entertainment. Beyond that, boring is a state of mind. Boredom. You switch it off. You just
switch off memory of something, and then you just redo it again. If you don't have a memory of it, it'll all seem new again. You know, your dreams really don't get boring. Anyway.
There's no reason why we're not going to think it's real. The realness is going to be just as, it doesn't have to have every nuance of reality for us to be completely involved in it. We get sucked into video games, we get sucked into movies, and they're flat and you know, so much less than virtual reality would be. Feeding of these brains or whatever we would become. Yeah, but it's just chemistry, okay? So I don't really see the need to have farms and industries and all this other crap. It's just chemistry. So you just, you know, you have some chemical plants that create the, you know, whatever nutrients, the blood, to keep the brains living, and that's the game. So that technology, as that advances, yeah, it's just chemistry. It's you know, that can be done. Back to the sustainability stuff, some guy says, yeah, well, this is sustainability, because there's no future unless we deal with these problems of human beings and their consumption. We got to find an environment where human beings can consume all they want without there being a price for that.